Good morning and a huge warm welcome to Carnation Crafts. We're live in the Carnation Crafts studio, and as always, it is wonderful to have your company. And it is Crafter Select Day, which I always love doing, and these are absolutely adorable. So these are your jungle friends, and it is the deal of the day today. So you can find it on the Carnation Crafts website on the number 230718, and it's got a show price today of $17.99. It's $2.95 UK P&P, and they are going to put the artwork up later on. That's so that everybody can get on the website, because it has been incredibly busy. So before we ever even went live, we'd already got 30% had already gone. So I don't think it's going to last all day. And obviously, to just accommodate everybody on the website, the artwork will be available later on. So what is Jungle Friends? Jungle Friends is so cute. There is a sloth. There is a little tiger cub. There is a beautiful orangutan and a gorgeous little hippo. Aren't they the cutest? They are so sweet. Look at the sloth. I think just really, really lovely to have something a little bit different, and a little bit like when we did the prehistoric friends. They just come in so handy, don't they, to have these little creatures. I love the fact that Carnation bring us Crafter Selects just as little extras. It's not a full collection, but they are things that we'll use a lot. Good morning, Yvonne. Good morning, Jacqueline. Good morning, Pam. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Suzanne. And then over on the Tubes of the U, good morning, Linda Poland. How cute are these? They are. Jumped in my basket at 3:30 this morning. You know what you were doing, Linda. They are absolutely adorable. And today we're going to work with some different card shapes for them from previous collections to look at how we can sort of bring them in with Carnation stuff that we've had before. Good morning, Annie. How are you doing? Love the sloth. The sloth is just delightful. They all are. They're just cute as a button, aren't they? So we're going to bring them in some different ways, but it is incredibly busy on the website. Obviously, this is a really popular Crafter Select. We knew it was going to be. So $17.99, that's going to go up at midnight because it's the deal of the day. So you'll only get it at that price today until midnight. I'm not sure what time they'll bring the artwork out, but it'll be when it's slowed down a little bit on the website so that everyone can get in. $2.95 UK P&P. Good morning to Melanie. Good morning, Vera Bow. Over from Australia, Miss Tiz Taz. Good evening, Carla and Taz from Australia. Ordered at 6 a.m. Well done, Vera. Vera is one of our lovely DT and very talented. She is as well. So we're going to have a look at this. I'm going to show you some finished samples first, and then once we've done that, we'll go through demos. I've got 3 demos for you today, and I'm hoping we're going to get all 3 of them done. So we're going to have a look at some finished samples first. Look at this for cuteness. How sweet is that? And the thing about this, the value of looking at finished samples is when the DT get hold of these, it's how they interpret it and how they go forward. And I think the fact that we can look at previous card shapes and stuff that we've got from Carnation and go through and work in ways of using them, it becomes incredibly valuable, just as kind of a way of taxing our brains, if you like, on ways of crafting. These are just stunning, these samples. Look at this. I think these might be Janine's. Look at that. Just cute, right? Really, really sweet. Bringing in those gorgeous hippos. I love that. I love clean and simple. I think that is just absolutely delightful, isn't it? Those colours coming together. I believe these are from Rural Charm, the balloons from Rural Charm as well. So just all your collections coming through. We've got your little mud piles, so many ways of making it. It's just gorgeous. I have got Pam at Lillington saying, which frame is the little frame? Now my brain is not going to, it's from the, is it from the many stepper card shape? I think it's from the many stepper card shape. I think my that's where my brain's going. If it is from the many stepper card shape, then that is actually on the, there's a deal going for a week on Carnation where they've got discount on Dandelion and Burdock, the little mice, and then Lily of the Valley frame and the laminar card shape and the many stepper. So if it is from that, Pam, it's currently on offer, and you build it. So you can build the stepper any which way you want. It's a really clever card shape. If my brain serves, that's the one it is. There's, I honestly, My memory is not, look at this. My memory is not the best, so I apologise. Look at that. How we bring it together. How we make Carnation go that little bit further. It's so good that we have these extra pieces that just allow us to expand, isn't it? I think these are incredible. Look at that. Just so cute. Good morning, Janine Dawson, you lovely human. I think these are Janine's. I think they're all Janine's. She's a very clever human. I love the way she works. I love the way she composes. I love the way she builds, and we get texture and detailing this. Lots of you saying you've ordered these already. I'm not surprised. They're going to go fast, and they are only available at this price until midnight. I think they'll sell out long before then. But look, look at this. How beautiful. Janine, you're such a clever human. Look at that. Stunning, right? Those colours coming through. All the different collections we see here. So these are the first, I can't remember the name of the collection. Janine, help me out. These are from the, it's a fairy tale one with a frog with the, Janine, I need your help.
Pure Enchantment?
No, long before that. It's the first one that they did that was a fairy tale collection. Janine will tell me in a minute. Look at this. I think that's your Lily of the Valley frame, and that one is on offer. So there's loads of stuff on the Carnation Crafts website. Go and have a ferret because there's loads of stuff. So all of these beautiful samples coming in with this. And then one final one I want to show you because I just... Look. Look at that. Just beyond cute. Really sweet. So think about what you can be making with these. Small but mighty. Carnation are very clever at bringing us little details. Things like this where you've got that crafter select and it's these gorgeous little animals that are just beyond sweet. But it's the way we use them, isn't it? It's the way that then into the woods. Karen Richardson, I love you. Thank you. I really wish my brain worked. 230718 for Jungle Friends die set. $17.99. It will go back up at midnight. $2.95 at UK P&P. Good luck to you all. That's all I'll say. Right, let's have a look at some demos. I've got 3. I'm hoping to do all of them. I think I've got the Lily of the Valley frame here as well. So I think Janine and I had some similar thoughts. I didn't actually realise it was on offer until about 5 minutes ago. So that's worked out very, very well. So let's have a look at what we've got and let's have a look at how we're working and so we can all bring together. So I'm doing an easel here. We've got my little bits and bats. So let me bring in my bits and bats for my easel. As you all know, I am not so great at remembering to do my base cards. So I tend to cut and sort beforehand and do my mats and layers so I can work it in. If you're working with an easel, one of the ways that you can do it is obviously clip the top, which is what I've done here. I just wanted to show you the alternative of doing it instead of placing that on top. If you don't want the bulk where this is, if you cut this at, you know, and score here and place that on top, you get a bulk at that side of the card on the easel. If you don't like that, your alternatives is to cut this here so that you can create the streamlined view, but you don't have the added bulk. It's a different way of working. It's not my favorite way of working. I do prefer to do the stick on top, but we all work differently. So I like to show you as many options as possible if you're brand new to card making, because we're all learning, right? So I'm just going to lift my finger lift. And place this uponst. What's wrong, Mr. Taz? Oh, was it tidy? And then we're using the mechanism. So there's a score line here halfway across, and I'm just going to hold that up, and that's going to hold the rest of this. So my mechanism works in that simple way. Really easy, isn't it? Really, really gorgeous. I'm just going to answer a couple of your questions because there's a few who've just joined us. Ruth is saying, good morning, I'm late to the party but already ordered the dies. When will the artwork be on the website? It will be some point today. What they'll do, because this is the deal of the day and it runs till midnight, in order to make sure that the traffic stays where it needs to be on the website. Once it's slowed down, they will put the artwork up. But what they're going to do, obviously, is just make sure that it's available to everybody first, then the artwork will go up. And that'll be the same going forward, just to make sure everything works. They'll put the artwork up later. It makes sense. It makes it easier for everybody, but it will be there for you later on. Right, I'm just going to remove this. This is the most enormous red liner tape I've ever seen. And let me get that straight. Am I about right, Miss Haz? Place that down. Maggie, hi Carla, just put on, great to see you, always love your demos. That's very kind, thank you Maggie. There's so many of you here, good morning. Do you know, I really love it when you all join us because it's really nice. It's like having friends around for coffee. Right, so I've got my mechanism all in place, my mats and layers are all in place. I've got to tell you, the Lily of the Valley frame is one of my favourite card shapes. I really love the artwork that comes with it. Just as a shape on its own, I like it just from a composition point of view. Before we start putting on the outer edges of it, I love the shape lines around it. And actually, as a card shape on its own, there's something incredibly beautiful about that. It's got just a visual. If you ignore the frame that I'm about to put on it, if you look at it just as it is, it looks like the outside of a floral. It looks like a petal, and I love it for that. It's very delicate and very pretty. If you want to use it without putting the piece on top that I'm about to put on, it just works. It's got a really beautiful, if you want to make floral cards, this is such a good base to do it on because it already has the look of a floral. So it's very delicate and very pretty to be able to build on. So it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous frame. So we're going to go in with some florals. Look at this. How pretty is that? It's got a real pop to it, hasn't it? And what happens here is that we've got this sitting where it is, and we've got a little center stage. So we're going into it. And that means we can build the visual, doesn't it? And we can disguise underneath, but we can also add, we can detract. Apertures can come in at this point, lots of ways to play with it. But because I've got this center stage, that's where I'm going to put my focus. So I've already got this here. Now I've got some other florals that I want to add into it. So what I've got here are my little, look at these, for a little pop of colour that can just tuck. And they can just go round. And I've got some added florals that I can put at the other side. Now for me it starts to get a bit too busy, but I just wanted to show you as a visual how we can play with this frame. Because what we can start to do, if I take that, poke it under and pull it back through so that it sits. It's too busy for me, but as a jungle scene, that's kind of where we're going, isn't it? Jungle scenes tend to be on the busier side. So I can bring in, but I would have to, for me personally, make a choice between those florals. Which would I like? Now I'm going to use this one because I like the idea of a canopy as far as the jungle is concerned. But I did want to show you the different options of those florals. So we're going to go in with wet glue. I'm just going to pop some on my glass mat. And ooh, Miss Taz, it all came out. Just flooded it. So I'm just going to go in with my applicator. This is where your Carnation applicators are just epic to have, because if I wanted to, I could put glue on the individual tiny elements, because that applicator is so tiny. It's really, really useful to have them, just because these tiny little dots, if you look at my applicator, I can fit glue on that tiny dot. They're really, really useful to have. So placing through little tiny amounts, I don't want too much, and I'm going to place it on these leaves, and I'm putting it on the outside edge so that if I want to tuck, I can still get underneath. So I'm not placing at the front here, I'm placing at the back. I can still tuck in. I'm in control the whole time. Turning that round. Find its home base. It has got a home base. I'm not going to get too caught up in that right now. Look at this. This frame here, just with a sentiment in the middle, would be absolutely stunning. The digging up the road outside, Miss Taz, if that's what you can hear.
I thought you were about to take off your laptop.
It is a digging outside. So I've got that element. Look at that. So pretty. Now I've got this, and I'm going to use this as an idea of a canopy for the jungle. So I'm just going to tuck straight in. I don't want my workings to show, so I don't want that glued on top. If I glue it on top, I get the visual of it being glued on top. And whenever we do that and we see a working on a card, what we're essentially doing is drawing the viewer into seeing that it's a card and it's a handmade card. When we tuck it in, we don't disrupt the story because it's hidden. So you keep the impact of the visual. So that's what I'm going to do, is just tuck it, small amounts of glue, just little dinks, not much. And then I'm going to find a tuck-in point. So I'm just going to lift. Remember, I put the glue on the outside so that I could still get that inside. So now I can choose where I'm going, but I definitely know I want it to be over. So I'm going to poke it through and just base it. Now I can just press to get my adhesion. So I've got the idea of a jungle canopy coming through, that shade line that comes. Now, because we've got little pieces of shadow underneath that, it gives it the illusion that it's hanging over. And that's what we want because of that jungle canopy that we're working with. And then we're going to bring in the big lad. Look at this, look at his face. These are a sculpture dream. Absolute sculpture dream. Look at where I can go. Look at all the elements that I've got that I can individually sculpt out. His arms can be done separately. His beautiful mouth can be done separately. And then those gorgeous cheek lines. That means I can get so much detailing in this. And it is so pretty and so cute. So I'm going to start working with his hair. So I'm working from the outside where that is already broken. I'm going to bring it in and I'm going to follow the V line of his hair shape that Nick's put in for us. And then I'm going to work on his arms next. So just working from my broken point down, follow in Nick's shade lines, because that is going to allow me the musculature that's correct. So we trust in Nick's observation of the character and we follow his path. Just round, a little bit on his hands. Now I need to work on the nose, and the snout of the nose doesn't have a cut line specifically within it, but it has got a little cut line around his mouth. So I'm going to work with that first where it's already got the cut. So I can start working round. It's broken, so I can break the fibres, and now that I'm breaking the fibres following on from it, I can now start to work his snout, his nose. So working through, and now I'm doing that in a round to give it that beautiful depth, and then I'm going to work round on his cheeks, just on the outsides here, just to give it that beautiful depth. And now what I'm going to do is work above his eyes, because when we look at orangutans, their eyes are often almost inset. Now remember, I'm working from the back here, so as I'm working through, these are starting to protrude forward on those eyes, and that means when I turn it over, they will recess a little bit, which is exactly what they do, right? So we're working with the idea of the animal framing. So all my little bits are now shaped out. Now those details that I'm doing, you won't so much capture on the camera. It won't be as obvious. But as I'm looking at him, his little eyes are recessed slightly. So we get that kind of beautiful dynamic shaping that we would expect from Carnation. So I'm going to put some pin flare onto him, if I can find my wadjump. He is just adorable, isn't he? I'm going to pull his little face forward and I'm going to tuck his little body. So I'm just going to use my pokey and just tuck him so that he's hidden. And I'm placing him just amongst those branches. He's just poking out. He's very happy. He's just so very happy. Now it's obviously a an easel card, so I'm going to need something to hold it, something to stop it. Now I've got two options here. I can either add my little sloth, who is just just beyond cute. I can either add him in at the front and have two little characters, or I can use him on the inside. And what that does is just give the recipient a little bit of extra fun. Have I done that on a weird angle? I have. We'll ignore that for the second. So if I just turn him around a little bit, because that's going to get right on my nerves. That should be a little straighter there. There we go. So if I place this, I can place my rock formations just in, out, and I can put those on pin flare. I can use it on foam tape. I can do it on all sorts, and I can have my little sloth sitting. Okay, and he can sit and he can hold everything up, and he can work as an extra stepper, so he comes in at the front of the card. Not so easy for you to see at that angle, but let's play. So what I'm going to do is take my foam tape, my scissors, cut some of these, and I'm going to work on the rocks first. And I'm just going to hide my foam tape at the back, as much on as I can manage. This is a 3mm. The thing is with these, you can use a 5mm on the inside of an easel, no problem, obviously, not an issue. The problem that you've got is it bulks it. So obviously, as it's shut, I want him to be further down. He's getting just out of hand. There we go. So as I place these through, I can put my pebbles here. Because it's on foam tape, it's instantly going to hold my mechanism. Not a problem at all. What I would like is for him to be able to sit upright, the little sloth. So he'll be sort of sitting just off center. Can I turn that, Taz? Is that okay? So he'll sit just off center from my rock formation. Now there's a couple of ways of doing that, and there's a couple of ways of making that work. So the choices that we've got are that I put my my pebbles down. If I was to cut him twice, I could essentially, let me get another one out so I can show you. Here he is. Look at his little face. Massive shout out to the Carnation team for cutting me some pieces. They do it all the time and they're so good, so I appreciate. Now what I can do with this sloth, let's do it this way. If I take his head, just glue on the top, not on the bottom. Stick him together, and I've now got two. Now what I can do with him is take his body and fold it so that I've got the two, like so. And I can use that so I can glue it at the back so he becomes the stepper at the back. Okay, so he will sit, and the front of the card is going to hide that working. So he will sit like so, and it will hide his little body bit, and the little the stones at the front will then sit in front of him. So it gets super cute. So we're going to work it that way. I'll take these off first because this is going to be my main working. Find my point on my easel where I want it to stand, and I quite like it standing quite high. Put those the right way around. Put them in, tuck. So my stepper sits, and it's already going to work as your mechanism. That's already going to be perfect. I just want him to turn a little bit. Let's see, there you go. Now I'm leaving room at this side, just here, so that my sloth sits there. I want him to sit up at that side of the card. So now I'm going to take some wet glue. The bit that I folded, I'm going to use my adhesive on. I'm going to place him down, just like so. Make sure his head sits forward, and then I'm going to allow the card to just settle. So he's going to sit at the bottom as the little friend, and he sits tucked. So you can't see that body line, it's hidden, but his little face is just sneaky peeking, and when you look at him from the front, he's just with those rocks. Super cute, really easy to do. Easel cards have got a little treat about them. There's something about an easel card, isn't there, that's just a little bit different, because it gives the recipient something to be surprised about, something to love, something to be, you know, in awe of, and I love that about it. So that's the easel taken care of. And now we're going to use some pieces from Orchard Outing. So the last one we did is the Lily of the Valley. That is currently on an offer. So the Lily of the Valley frame is beautiful. Let's have a look at Orchard Outing. So these are the ones that I chose as being a really good way to bring in kind of the theme with the animals. And I really liked Orchard Outing for it. So got really big twitch in my eye this morning. I was saying to Taz earlier and it keeps twitching. Thank you for getting my pokey, Mrs. Taz. So same as always, we're going to fold that base card down. We're going to face it towards our body. We're going to shuffle the two together, place and push for our card base. And then I'm going to look at these colours. Aren't they pretty? And then I'm going to work inwards from there. My foam tape down as tabs. Place on. Push. Pull. Cool those tones. Place some white on top. You can use your blush papers for this to just bring in a warmer tint. Look at that. That's super chunk, isn't it beautiful to look at? Really nice platform to work with. It already looks really beautiful because it's chunky and it's given us that gorgeous shadow play underneath it. So I've got my two Lightworks here, which are just pretty from this collection. So I'm going to use those as a textural background, really just flat textural background. So I'm using the two of them together, but I'm going to build in some corners and some frames as we go through so that I'm bringing in the composition. So tiny amounts of glue just on the center points of these. And I'll do that on both of them, and I'm just long lining the card. I'm accentuating the length of the DL by long lining with these, so we're putting a band around them on both the top and the bottom, and that is going to give me this beautiful kind of belly band around it. So from there, same at the top, and little bits and little bits. Place this in, push down. And we're going to be using the sloth in this one. Okay, super sweet. I love that. Isn't that so gorgeous? Couldn't that be anything? There's a whole stage there that could literally, there's a world opened. And I love that for crafting, because with Carnation, I've got so many collections already sitting in my head. I could bring in so many aspects. Wouldn't the corners from Sheer Delight look beautiful in here? There's so many pieces that could come in that would just be really beautiful. Say No More, all of the different pieces and the different elements, we can instantly see a stage, and I love that. Things like your Lightworks, I always say it, these can be the most important parts of the collections that we get because they open up a world. So when I see that, because I've taken away my blank canvas and I've added something to a blank canvas, it's no longer daunting, because just with that Lightwork I can suddenly go in a million different directions, because I've just got rid of the blank page, and sometimes that can be really helpful. I've got, look at these, look at the pretty. I will never not be in love with Carnation's florals. Look at that, just gorgeous, right? There's something about Carnation. So I'm going to use some wet glue here on those florals. I'm keeping this flat purposefully. Just stick it down. Same on the other side. Hello, Miss Sharon Curtis. How you doing, beautiful lady? Put these down. That's another person who loves her florals. And then push this way. Somebody is saying, when is the Love and Light USB going to be available via Carnation Crafts? I don't know for definite, but I think it will be probably next week, the week after. Somewhere along those lines. That twitch in my eye is driving me insane. Right, so it is absolutely driving me mad. Honestly, I'm twitching and twitching. Right, let's go this way. So I'm going to use my ball tool and I'm going to shape some of these out. They're like little lotus flowers, aren't they? Really pretty. Hi Alison, how you doing? Morning Trina. Hey Jill, hey Terry, hey Denise. Gosh, there's lots of you here this morning. So I'm taking these And I'm just going to delicately put a few around. I'm not particularly decoupaging with the intention of absolute decoupaging. I'm just going to add a little bit of height. So it's not a sort of a specific. When we're decoupaging, always remember that if you want to fill things out, it's not that we have to decoupage exactly the same as here. We can, so obviously this floral goes on top of this one. That's your decoupage element. And there's an urge most of the time when we're doing this to kind of keep that as the decoupage point, because that's the point of decoupage, you know, to be sensible with it. But I can also add in extra details by using them separately and giving dimension to them. And it's a really pretty way of doing things. Just add in as if they're little blossoms that are falling. There's something really beautiful about that. So I'm just going to add in a couple of pieces just for that textural height. Oh, gosh, Carnation are good, aren't they? Carnation have just said the USB. You can register your interest now. It will be available from the 27th and we will do a show on the 28th. Thank you, Carnation. So there you go. You can go and register interest already. I hope that helps. It's a beautiful, beautiful USB. I got to tell you, that was a joy to work with. That was the shows on Hobby Maker. So I'm just going to do those two, and I'm adding them in those bottom corners just to give that dimension and height, but also to frame inwards. I've got my V, I know where I'm working, I've got my stage. So now I can start to bring in my elements. And I've got this beautiful little garden shed, which I love so much, which is just cute as a button. I don't want it just standing there. I want to be able to tuck it behind those florals. So this is why we only glue in little elements, so that I can tuck it, and I've got that place for it to sit centrally in that card. So I'm going to just glue the top of it so I know I've got it in place. I'm not gluing the bottom of it yet. So I'm just going to place in, push down. Isn't that pretty? Keeping those cool tones. Keeping the cool, clear, white space, but with that beautiful banding behind it. Really pretty. Now, here he is. I'm going to shape him. I want him to be quite bulky because he's going to sit behind the door of my shed. And I want him to be bulky because I want the recipient to know to open the door. So if I have a bit of bulk, it will sit a little bit open, and they'll know when they receive it to open the door. So I'm going to add that and shape him out. So I've got his beautiful hair. He's got his really, really gorgeous hair. They're telling me at Carnation that the USB is actually still available at Hobby Maker now, so you can go and get it kind of instantly if that's what you would like to do. I'm going to buy this round. Ellen's saying she's going to get save up and buy a scan and cut machine. They're amazing, the scan and cut machines. Absolutely love my scan and cut. So I'm just going to bring this in. Smaller ball tool for his body. Not break his legs, but you know what I mean. Sorry, that was very badly phrased. Bring around his arms. I really love sloths. I once quilled a sloth. In with his eyes, and I'm going to follow his eyes round. I'm not actually going to shape his eyes out. I'm going to follow his nose line around his eyebrows and follow his smile. And just pull his head forward. Look. Just going, it's just sweet, isn't it? Rachel McCourt is saying, what collection is the shed from, please? This is all from Orchard Outing. It's a really pretty collection, really, really beautiful collection. So I'm just going to go in with this pin flare. Remember, I want him to bulk because I want the recipient to know there's something behind the door. And I didn't glue the bottom because I'm going to need to tuck his little legs in. So I'm going to pop him there, make sure he's tucked. Get the other side of the shed, make sure he's tucked. Then I'm going to take my little applicator and I'm going to tuck a little bit of glue here, just enough to cause some adhesion at the bottom without squishing my sloth. Same at the other side. And then that door will close, but it just stays open enough. All happy inside his little shed. Isn't he beautiful? the sweetness that we can, you know, the joy that we can bring with these, because they're just gorgeous, aren't they? Carol, no, Alison is saying, what's the biggest eye? Sloth, tiger, hippo. Well, let me make it easier for you to see. Just take these out. So that's your hippo. There's your orangutan. There's your tiger. And there's your sloth. So in order of, I would say he's the biggest. There. I hope that helps as a visual going down. So it's definitely your orangutan that's the biggest. I hope that helps. Right, we've got one more demo that I want to get done for you. And I've saved my favourite until last. I'm going to work with Wild Garden, and I love Wild Garden. It is just pretty as a picture. We're going to play with that Miss Tiz Taz. Miss Tiz Taz looks all pretty today. She looks very lovely. So I just to show you, we've done your easel. Obviously, we've used your sloth here with your little orangutan. So we've got that one sitting. We've used Orchard Outing, and I'm going to then bring in Wild Garden, and that is some, you know, ways and means of you crafting with. Look at his little face. He's just cute. So we're bringing in ways of using old collections that we've got. There's never an old collection with Carnation, but you know what I mean, those collections that we've got. But let's have a look at a stepper card. And I love this. So let me get my bits and my bats and just move all this so I know I've got all the pieces. I love stepper cards. So I've got my card base, Wild Garden. Look at that. Corking, right? Really, really beautiful. It's Carnation. We would expect it to be amazing. And of course it's amazing. We've got our score lines here. Everything is taken care of for us in this process. You've got options with the top of these steppers. So you can either fold one in and glue them together, which is what I will do. You could cut one off. It's up to you. I like to do it this way. So I fold and tuck all of mine in on those. And I'm just going to glue the two together. That's going to make my life as easy as I can make it. So just taking this off. And another one. Hey up. And another one. Okay, so we've got all of these pieces together. I'm going to make sure that I've got the bottom and the top correctly. So that is that one. I need this one to come in, and that's my top. It's just where you can see where the die cut is. So the top of it is, it's a nicer cut, isn't it, on the front. I'm going to turn them around so I can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to base plate those out so that they are together, absolutely, just where they need to be. Apologies for the red liner tape stuck to my fingers. I'm just going to hold this one. Can you see what I'm doing? Probably not. I'm just going to hold this one down and this one in so that I can place them and marry them. Same again. This one and this one. So I'm holding that one down. Just marry them together. And same at this side. Marry them up. She says. Here we go. Just married in. And that's your stepper card made. Really clever, isn't it? So taking this, I can then fold these two in. So the way these work, they're super, super clever. Same again on the other. They've got the bend lines for us. It's all built in. I'm just making sure I've got those the way that I want them to be. Opening this in, they're going to fold inwards, like so. Like so. So you've got that inward fold on this side for it to, look how pretty that is, to sit. Same again. Same again. Look at that for a card shape. That's incredible, right? I love it. So now I've got my bits and my bats. So I'm going to use these. So I'm using that beautiful purple tone. I'm just going to straighten my legs out. just there, so I can get all of this flat down. And we're going to go in with some finger lift. And just get that beauty. Look at those colours. Isn't that so gorgeous? That pop, that shadow. And then through here. Just lifting. And place on here. There we go. Pretty. And then once we do this, I've got this on a 1mm foam, so they were flat. This is a 1mm foam. I just want it to protrude slightly, not too much, but just a little bit of extra to where this is, so it just sits a little bit more proud. Making sure that's roughly straight. Remember, I can't bend on the overhead, so I apologise if we're a little bit on the wonk. And then I've got these elements, and these are staying in the full purple. Okay, and I'll explain why in a second. So I'm going to use some wet glue. The contrast on this is just glorious. Wet glue here. Now, let's cool those tones with, look at that, china plate. Really, really beautiful, isn't it? Just this one. Just there. Same again on this one. Linda, love the wild stepper card shape. It was the first card I made using Carnation. That's amazing. Look at these. Pretty, right? China. It just looks like china plates. Make sure that adhesion has taken before I start putting anything else on, just to be sure. Right, so now I've got this. Look at the framing out. Pretty, pretty, pretty. So I can use that as that jungle element, that theme of the jungle. It's just really, really gorgeous, isn't it? Alison says, is that all one collection, the card base? It's the wild, I think it's called the Wild Garden Stepper card, or the Wild Stepper shape. It'll be on the Carnation Crafts website. If you just search wild, it'll come up. Small amounts of adhesive just to pin this in place. Now I may need to tuck in, so I'm not going to go too drastic on my pinning, but I am going to make sure the bottom's pinned and the top's pinned, but I need to be able to gain access here because I'm going to be tucking in, so I keep it loose on those elements. Now I've got the two side panels.
It's called the Wild Stepper Floral Collection.
Wild Stepper
So
Floral
step
Collection.
And you'll see it's some lovely florals with it. It's on a sale price.
We like a sale price. How much is it? Do we know?
$79.99.
That is a bargain. I do love it when they have the little sales on Carnation. So I'm just going to corner this out right into that corner. I need it to have a reason, so I'm cornering it. Otherwise it's going to float in midair. And I don't want that to happen, but I'm simply using this as a pop of colour on the side and to bring in those purples and just allow that pink, because my centre stage is down here. Remember, these get tucked underneath, so it's just a poke of colour, and it'll make sense when that comes into the, once we, you know, put it into its format that it's meant to be. So just seating it right in that corner, because the stepper card itself is going to hide my workings. Okay, so it'll poke down and that will hide it. So now I've got some elements for decoupage here, and I'm going to use these somewhere probably on the bottom just to bring in some depth. So I'll probably put them in about here just to bring in a little bit more dimension. So rather than just using it as a decoupage element, like I was saying, I'm going to raise it and use it as an extra piece. So I'm just going to pop, actually I'm going to do it on some pin flare. Let's get some extra height. Just placing it in, allow some growth, allow some height. A little bit on the other side. So we recess this because we've got the height at the front. So we're recessing that back leaf just to give a little visual. And I've got my beautiful bird bath, and you can probably see where I'm going with this. So I'm just going to shape that little rounded piece with my hand just to make it slightly rotund. I don't want it to be too rotund. What I'm not going to do is glue it. What I'm going to do is glue this bit, but I'm going to leave this. Now, just a small smidge. Get my pokey and get that in place behind that bottom leaf. Just in, so I've got a grounding device. Just smushing it through. There we go, perfect. And I've made that round. Can you see how that now sits forward? Can you see the shadow behind that? So it looks like there's the full circle. So keeping this loose, just remember, just a quick shaping out there will pay dividends on shadows. Okay, so you've got that beautiful element. It's really clever how it works, and it just allows it to as if there's water in it, right? That bird bath, it's as if we can see it. So then we get to shape out our little characters. So I'm going to use the hippo, the tiger, and the orangutan. And I'm not going to go too much into shaping on these. We've done, you know, a fair bit on the sculpture of them. But I do want some shaping on them. And the reason that I can give myself leeway to do that is because I shaped this out. So it's going to allow it to sit, you know, for them to sit inside. So I'm going to start with orangutan. I won't do as much shaping this time because you've seen what I was doing. But remember, we start on the point where there's nothing attached to it. So we're going here so that we don't crease the paper. And we're just going to go through. And I'll do his lovely cheeks. These are so gorgeous, these jungle friends. Remember, they're on the Carnation Crafts website, 230718, but they will go up at midnight if there's any left. I doubt it. I can't see there being any left. But they're $17.99 for now. I think it's going to sell out. And I'm just going to place just these through. Little hippo. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've got a cut line here, so the first thing I'm going to do is his nose, but I need the smaller ball tool for that. So I'm just going to follow the arc. Can you hear the pop as the pips go where the cut lines are? Remember, with Carnation, all the artwork is done in-house. Those little pip lines are there. The cut lines are drawn into the design in order so we can sculpt and shape. Doing his little eyes, rounding out those beautiful cheeks. And now I'm going to long line on his body. So I'm not going to go into a big round because that's going to separate where his cheeks are. I need to follow his little rolls this way. So I'm going to stick with the ball tool that I've got. I'm going to start from the edge, work round on his little rolls and follow Nick's lines. We've got to trust Nick's observations, follow his shade lines. That's going to give us the best sculpting. And follow that through, and then I'm just going to take his forehead and roll him round. So he's just glorious, isn't he? Look at all his lovely little pieces. He's just an absolute stunner. Finally, this, look at that. Beautifully done. So the ears first. Start with the piece that's not done. I'm just going to go in with his ears. And then I'm going to work his the top of his head. I'm going to follow around where these are, watching where his mane is and bringing it through to that point. Not mane, you know what I mean, his chin line. Small ball tool, make sure I've got his snout just done so it protrudes. And then I'm going to work his arms, his paws, and his little legs. I'm not too worried because they'll be hidden. And now I need this V line from his chest. I'm not going to work in around. I want to follow the V line. It's how we, you know, we make everything look more, what's the word I'm looking for? Accentuate, essentially. So I'm going to bring this through, working on that V, and just following that round. I can't leave him that rotund, so we point where the chin is and we raise his head. And that gives us that beautiful, glorious shaping out that we've got with all of the elements. You can see more so when it's sort of at that angle how all of those shapings come out. It means I can also pull his ears forward as well. So we've got that little bit extra and he's just beautiful. So let's take these characters and sit them into the bird bath. So pin flare for this. The reason I'm using pin flare on this, it's not just the rays that I love to get the shadow, but I need all three animals to kind of sit in shape. So the hippo and the tiger are going to be behind the hippo. It means that if I was to put the tiger and the hippo down first and glue them, I don't know where the orangutan's going to hit. So I've got to put the orangutan down first and I need to slot them behind. If you choose to use wet glue and you don't want to use a silicone glue and you're following this, just put your wet glue on the bottom of the orangutan here so that you can still raise him forward to allow yourself to tuck those other two behind. Otherwise you're going to struggle getting your placement for it. But I'm going to go in with pin flare because I do want the shadows and I do want the rays, and I'm putting it on his head and just around these bits. I'm not too worried about his arms because they're going to tuck into this beautiful bird bath. Isn't he just divine? He's so gorgeous. So we're going to place him here, and then I'm going to put my other two little ones poking, and they're going to follow this line. So I've got these two going out. The animals are going to follow that line. Not so much that it looks like they're falling over, but enough to give it a visual point. So a tiny little swerve just this way, not too much, make sense of it, but enough so we've got the visual. So they're hiding behind the orangutan and they're playing and they're being very naughty in this bird bath. Tucking through. They're just peeking out and they're going in the same direction as my florals. Composition wise, we've just made sense of the shape of everything. I haven't quite finished because I've got a little bird and he's got a shower cap on and he's having a little wash, but he can't have a wash because they've pushed him out because those naughty, naughty animals are all using this. So he's going to be at the bottom, just as a tiny little tuck in and a little extra hidden something something in that card. Let's piece it all together then and bring that beautiful stepper in where it's supposed to be. So now my workings are hidden. Remember, I don't like my workings, but now they're hidden. There's just a poke of colour. Not much, it's not excessive, it's just a little poke of colour to bring all of those purples together. And you see composition wise we're following our lines, so we've got all our corners correctly. This is going in that direction, we're creating that V, and the animals are doing the same. So visually we've got that beautiful long line down, so it just works together. So placing that forward so you can see it all sitting pretty. We have got a really good, hey up, it's slipping on my glass mat. We've got a really, really beautiful stepper. Isn't that so pretty? Anything that we get with Carnation that is a Crafter's Select is designed and meant to be able to take our crafting in a gorgeous new direction, something that we wouldn't necessarily think about doing. And it gives us the impetus to get out collections that we might not have touched for a while. because we start thinking differently. So when we go jungle friends, my instant thought was florals, jungles, greenery. Which collections are going to serve that purpose? Wild garden. It was obvious to me that wild garden would be one of my first. And that's the joy, isn't it? Because if that hadn't been the case, when would I next use wild garden? And we want to bring in all elements, don't we? We want to keep playing. The strength of Carnation is that, as I've said to you so many times, we never buy a collection or several collections from Carnation. We buy one collection, we add to it. And that is the joy, isn't it? Because when we start to think in terms of, what is this die giving me? What are these little animals saying to me? Where are they playing? What are they doing? Straight away I went to wild garden. Straight away. And that's important. It's a really, really joyful thing to have the Crafters Select. It is only available at the price it's at until midnight tonight, at which place it goes back to its normal price. So that is on the Carnation Crafts website on the number 230718, Jungle Friends die set, $2.95 UK P&P. Really good price. You're getting 4 gorgeous dies there. Remember, there's 20% off the minute on the Carnation Crafts website, which we found out this morning. You've got Dandelion and Burdock, which use 2 mice. Then you've got the Lily of the Valley frame, which I played with for the easel. You've got the Laminar card shape. You've got the Many Stepper card shape. The Many Stepper card shape is awesome, and you can completely build it the way you want to build it. The Many Stepper is one of those card shapes that's just important. So that is all there for you. There's loads of stuff on the Carnation Crafts website at the minute. You need to go and ferret. Go and ferret on the Carnation Crafts website, because there's a ton of stuff in there. I've had a lovely morning with you all. I hope you have too. It's been really great to have all of your company. We go live on Hobby Maker on Tuesday with Going Wild, the brand new collection from Carnation, and it is a corker. It's a corker of a collection. So we will see you then. Until then, take really good care of yourselves. Be safe. We'll see you soon. Bye.